evening and welcome to the Laugh the Monkey Music Show. Today I'm Chris Slade. How are you?
Good, thank you. Very good.
I'm glad we could do this today. I'm excited. Obviously, I've been listening to your music through different forms my whole life. Didn't even know some of the bands you were in. You know, which
Know
makes it.
me? That's funny, that isn't it?
Well, I didn't. It is this, and I didn't know Tom Jones, which I think one of my favorite things in all the world.
Oh, really?
Oh, I love Tom Jones. He's so much fun. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
great.
And the
I
fact that
I
you
was with him. I was with him the 7 years.
it's amazing the resurgence he had later on too. Which is really really great. To when he came back, he got like a new generation. That's always going to be fun. Did you actually keep in touch with them over the years? Like I imagine.
I haven't seen him for a few years, but we spoke a few years back when we were both in LA. In
Yeah,
fact, we were both doing the same Grammy show. I was with AC/DC. He was with Tom Jones.
that's funny because you guys were actually. It's funny you guys meet in L.A. when you guys are really two Welsh guys that used to, you know, live on the
Yeah,
other side of the world. That's pretty funny. The come to that. So we are talking about your new your collection, your album, double album. It's pretty fun. What was the So if you aren't aware, yeah, there we go, right? We'll pull back a little bit. There we go. Yeah, nice. What was the impetus to decide to do an album now at this point in your life? I mean,
we've been Timeline, the Chris
yeah.
Slade Timeline, the
Mhm.
band. We've been recording. We've been together for 10, 12 years,
Okay.
and we've been recording all the time, just to record things. Um, and when we had the time, we go in the studio. But it was always covers. It was
Hmm.
always, AC/DC or Asia or Man from Man's Earth Band. We didn't have any originals. So about 2.5 years ago, I discovered that I could write melodies. I've written lyrics many
Yeah.
times before, but I actually discovered that if I wrote a melody, it was valid. Like, it goes la da 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 dee dee do do dum.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing. So, and Mike Clark, the keyboard player in Timeline, helped me out enormously because I don't play a chordal instrument, but I can sing in tune, and I know the difference between a major and a minor.
Yep.
And I know how songs should be written, a verse, chorus, blah blah blah,
Hmm.
all that stuff. Um, and I was amazed that I could actually write melodies. So I wasn't just writing melodies; I was writing bass lines. I was writing vocal harmonies, doing vocal harmonies because I always have done that.
Yeah.
And the guys would make the best of what I was giving them. And James Cornford then would solo guitar over the
Mhm.
parts where I go, now. So, it worked out quite well, actually. I was very, very pleased. I was surprised and very pleased that it turned out the way it did.
It is, and it's a good album. And hearing it makes it even more even impressive. So you discovered you could do that at what you're like 74. I mean, you never stopped
77,
learning, right? No, so when you
70.
figure that out, when you learn that though, you could do the melodies. Said 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, you're probably like a
Yep,
70,
two and a
75.
half years ago.
Yeah, so I'm
Yep.
saying so. I mean, that's amazing. You can always keep doing stuff and creating. I mean, the power you have at this point in your life still. You haven't lost a beat. I mean, pardon the pun, but the power you have on the drums is amazing. Because the big discussion nowadays is always at what point, you know, how far can an artist go? Actually, now the discussion is how old should a president be? But for the sake of this show, it would be how
Yeah,
far,
yeah.
right?
I'm gonna try to be president. Actually, I thought
I'd
I'd
vote for you after hearing the album, and you're way more competent. And you can do Zoom, and I bet you the other two guys can't do Zoom. So I thought I'm gonna say,
I think
um,
Mr. Trump is the same age as me. I think I'm not certain of that, but but I would
No,
not like to be the president of the United States at my age. Thank you very much. Even if I could, which I can't, of course.
I know.
Um, I wouldn't like to do anything much at my age, but I do love touring, and I do love going to different countries and meeting people,
Hmm.
and I've always liked that. So, a friend of mine said, Slade, they pay us to travel. And if you
Yeah,
think about it, if you look
yeah,
at it that way, it's absolutely true. Because uh, last Saturday, I was in Lyon, France. 2 weeks' time, I go to Italy
jeez,
for, for a weekend. Um, Germany after that. 3 months ago, we were in Poland and Czech Republic, all points east.
yeah,
So I love it. And we travel in a van. I don't fly, and not because I'm afraid, but I hate all that security stuff.
yeah. That could be a lot.
So, and when we travel in the van, we can take our own equipment. So
Is
I like to play with my Rocco Bus drum kit,
Yeah,
and it's a no-brainer, really. I just get in the van, and we go to Italy. Might take 2 days, which it does, but we get there eventually. We're just planning it today, actually. Me and my missus. She's
yeah,
doing all the planning. Well, we both doing it actually, but
yeah.
it's exciting as well, and it gives me a raison d'être. You know, sorry, pardon my French.
Well played. Well, I think you really, the fact that you appreciate it, you embrace it is good because some artists just physically it's just too much for them, and mentally they can't do the traveling. They're like, it's just the touring is too much. But
Yeah,
you embrace it.
absolutely. Yeah, I do. I love it actually, and I hope it shows in my playing. Um, and everybody's excited to be on stage. I still am.
Yeah,
I turned professional in 1963 with Tom Jones, and I've been going ever since. I've been on the road ever since, except for COVID.
it must have been
Um,
really hard for you to all of a sudden not be doing anything when COVID hit.
it was maybe I've just thought of it. I only just literally thought of it. Maybe it was the COVID thing that made me turn to songwriting, to
Oh, because you had
melody.
the time. Yeah, because you had the time to.
Yeah, time to regroup.
Mhm.
Because all you had to think about is what am I going to eat later? What am I going to
Yeah,
drink later?
yeah.
And this was, perhaps I'll try writing a song. Maybe that was it. I just don't know. I honestly don't know. They just came out of the blue, and they still
Well,
do.
well, I think that it would fit the ready to go with the timeline, little of you
Yeah,
learning. you
yeah,
know, I think the other thing is a lot of artists actually during COVID actually took the time to like write their best albums, practice. Like a lot of them regained a skill set or took some time. So
yeah.
it makes sense that you would come out with something a new tool. How do you keep yourself so healthy? I mean, it's
I
it's
don't.
amazing.
I
Yeah, but
don't
to be
actually.
a drummer
But
though, I know a lot of
healthy enough
drummers.
to sit
Yeah,
on drums and play them, yes.
but it tears. It
I
tears
have
on your
no
body.
idea. People ask me things like that, and my answer always is, I use the force.
You get that whole Keith. You get the Keith Richards thing going on with you. It just doesn't matter. You just get that dose of a more mortality where your body just keeps going, and it's
Well,
fantastic.
there's a bit more to that trite comment. I use
Yeah,
the force
yeah,
because I've done martial arts all my life
yeah.
until maybe 20 years ago or something,
Hmm.
10, 20 years ago. Um, and the energy you learn to access and manipulate is
Hmm.
just like the force. That's where he got the idea from for the force. Um, and it's called ki or chi energy, depending on which country, Chinese or Japanese. Same
Yep.
energy, and it's where martial artists go. Uh, when they're in the middle of a fight, uh, and you want some energy, that's where you get it from. Wherever that reservoir is, I have no idea. I just know how to access it. I couldn't point you the way. You've got to learn it.
Yep.
And that's the force.
What
And
did you I'm sorry.
go ahead.
What did you do? I took kung fu for many years.
Really? Well, you
Yeah,
know what I'm talking about.
I absolutely know what you're
Um,
talking about.
I did Shotokan karate to start,
Hmm.
Aikido, oh, all sorts. Sword drawing, which is Iaido,
Yep.
staff, and all points in between. Actually, I did 12 years of Japanese archery, which is called Kyudo, Kyudo. Um, and I did that for 12 years. I got third dan in that, and I just failed the fourth dan. So, because it's not target archery like Western archery is.
No.
Um, it's you still got to hit the target,
Right.
but it's the way you hit the target.
Uh,
So, no, that
it's so
sounds very
the
strange.
the form
Yes, it's
matters.
very, very esoteric. It really is. Um, and it takes a lot of kneeling and a lot of balance and a lot of all sorts of stuff like that. And it takes years, literally years and
Mhm.
years, for your technique to come to fruition. Um, it's probably the most complex thing you can do as a martial art. I would think it is. I know, I do Tai Chi now,
Yep.
um, which is you speed Tai Chi up, it's Kung Fu.
Yeah. Well, we used to do both. Yeah. So it was the warm up would be Tai Chi for me. I my energy and I would do Southern style and then I fighting and then um the version of wrestling and then I would do weapons salsa with swords and stuff. And I
So you
get
did Chi
yeah
Kung as well. Chi
yeah
Kung, so
yeah. So I get what you're saying. So this makes 100% sense now for me. Why you're still drumming now at 77, having all those years of martial arts, your body gets conditioned totally different.
yes,
It's like getting reformatted in a way. So, your body gets reformatted to just exist way different.
yes, yes. I see what you mean. Like muscle memory.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, it,
Same thing. Same with drumming. It's muscle memory, isn't it?
yeah,
It's after
it
so
is.
many years, you've got to get the muscles there first in that position, and then when you have, I don't have any muscles anymore, but you know what I mean.
I do, but I think but all those years of preparing, even the warm ups for class, was to stretch your muscles, so protecting you from hurting yourself and injury as a drummer and moving around. You know, it probably really helped you out in a way that not at such a high level to be able to perform at a level you've been at your whole life. You know.
Well, I'm so glad you understand what I'm talking about because I
Oh, I told
talk to
you.
a lot of people, and I don't know why I told you, but I talk to a lot of people, and they don't know what I'm. It's like, oh yeah, that's weird, man. Yeah, cool. Anyway, goodbye, Chris. Nice to talk to you.
Yeah.
Bye
Well, I think that's the essence of somebody who somebody is. I mean, it's how do you get the song? How do you get to who you are? You have to start at the beginning of who that person is. And it's my one of my kung fu teachers. He used to train with Jet Li and China when they were young
Oh
at
wow.
the temple.
Yeah, yeah.
So he used to have guests come in. I went to a really great, fantastic martial art. I guess he called them stars, famous stars that would come in to practice with us and come over to his studio here in the U.S. And he was a very small man, and you could like he'd be like, all right, you try kicking his shins or something to him. It was like a tree trunk. I mean, his legs were not huge, but he had such a power inside of him. That little thing, it's
Right.
like a nuclear energy plant. Like there's just so much inside of him, and the jumps and the flips. There's an inner source of power
I
that
know
is
those
there.
guys are something else, aren't they? Those old masters,
It
literally old
is,
masters.
and it is, but it's a mastering of that inner power that shows amazing things you can do. And there are I don't have words for it. I'm sure there's probably some really cool Chinese and Japanese words for it, but American, my English, I got no real cool words for it, you know. So
Yeah.
that's actually really fascinating that you did that. So that makes sense. And if you're feeling good, it's going to make travel more fun for you also because you're not going to be feeling awful when you get up the next day because
Yeah, not so much, to be very honest. Um, not these days. I mean, of course, I like to get some sleep, but often you just don't get sleep
right.
on the road, do you? You just don't. Um, and I tend to sleep in the van, so then I get a sniff heck, so that
Oh,
all
that
that stuff. And
that would be the worst.
yeah, you can't help it. It's endemic to what you do, and I am choosing to do that.
Yeah.
Um, so it's still a wonderful thing to do to travel, and a
Hmm.
wonderful thing to do to play drums. And I'm so pleased that I've got such a fantastic band to play those songs. I always wanted to have my own band that would play my life,
Yeah.
and we virtually do that with Timeline. And now
It's
we've got some other stuff, some newer stuff to do.
yeah.
That can add to the pot, to the recipe. So
And
very pleased about that.
it's great. The production's really good. And so people, it's a double CDs, which means they're double, however you ever download it. So half of it is all the original, and the other half is other music you've done in your past. You have on the other half
Yep,
of it. So it does, that's more of the actual timeline of, say, some of the music you've done, because it's only a half an album. I mean, you've done so many, you couldn't even touch that. You'd need like some kind of like 10 CD collection to do a real timeline for you, you know?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It would.
But it's a small greatest hits that the people would know. You know what I mean? I was surprised. I'm like, why is it's not so usual should be on that for one of your songs you guys should do.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't think to put Tom Jones on the album, this album. We do Tom Jones live.
Do
It's
you?
usually Delilah
Oh,
because everybody knows that song. And
they
we did
do.
a heavy metal festival. Actually, it was a death metal festival in the south of France about
Yeah.
uh, 8 years ago. And and we went. I didn't write the set list out. We used the last set list. And it's like, oh, Delilah's next. I'm going to a death metal festival. Okay, one, two, three, two, two, three, and we went off into it. And
And they
there
loved
they
it.
were, the death metalers, with their arms in the air. Whoa, hey, Delilah, because everybody knows that song, even as a joke.
Well,
So it's a
I
lighter moment in the set.
I do. I don't even think it's a joke. I think the joke would be haha. It's more of a tongue in cheek. It's like it's fun. Like it feels like it's kind of cheesy, but it's so fun and silly. Like it's such a unifying thing. You know what I'm saying? Where it's just
Yeah,
it's
everybody loves it, honestly,
yeah.
arms in the air. If you can imagine, we did Hellfest in the south of France.
Hmm.
50,000 people, arms in the air, you know, swaying along. It's like it's uncanny. It's unbelievable. In fact, the last time I talked to Tom a few years back, I went,
Yeah.
"Oh, Tom, my band we do Delilah." He said,
Yeah.
"Delilah." I said, "Yeah." He said, "I haven't done that for 20 years." I said, "You got to do it, man. It's a great crowd. It's a great crowd pleaser." He couldn't believe it, and he's doing it now in his set.
I can't believe he wasn't doing that. It's yeah, because that's one of the biggest songs that people know. That Pussycat, Unusual. There's a handful of Tom Jones songs that everybody knows. You know, they're fun sing-alongs. Yeah, I actually have. I think I have like two of the albums that you were on with Tom Jones in my collection. Didn't even know you were on it because
All right.
I didn't
Yeah.
even think to
Well, there's
look. That's pretty
some
funny.
tracks. I'm not on all the tracks
Yeah.
because they use a lot of session men.
Hmm.
I was on some of them, a lot of them. I did two live albums also, one in
Yeah.
London, one in Las Vegas.
I have the Vegas one. I think actually. I
All
think I have
right,
that
live
on
in Las
vinyl.
Vegas. Yeah,
Yeah, I got it on
and
vinyl.
I get a credit on that. He says, and on drums we've got Chris. That's it.
That's it. That's pretty funny. Was it
And it's like,
so?
Tom, what's the matter with you, man? You know, he's not the greatest talker in the world. So he thought Chris was enough, you know,
Well,
perhaps. And,
it's
and it
worked
was
out.
Jim, and that was big Jim Sullivan, you know, on
Yeah.
guitar. And on guitar, we've got Jim. And on bass, we got John.
Well,
Not,
you know,
not a full name check, you know.
but in hindsight, you and I are still talking. How many years later? I'm like, I have that album. You know, so it didn't slow you down. You know, and the fact you play with so many people did how different from starting and recording in the studio as a drummer to now for you do you feel like night and day, like the recording process and working in a studio, or do you
Oh,
feel like it's just not really a big change?
well, the first time I recorded was at a demo studio, and it was a 2-track. You know, now we've got like 75, 1,085 if you want,
Right.
whatever. Um, and it's all automated. You push you put a slider up once and it remembers where you just put it.
Right.
So the volume is all sorted. Uh, when we say Earth Band, recording with Mantra Man's Earth Band
Hmm.
on still a 30-channel desk, but no automatic faders because they weren't invented yet.
Yep.
So you had a chalk mark that you would put your and we all used to mix, by the way. Like there was 5 of us at the desk, including the engineer. So
With your
we'd move a slider to a volume level. You might want the bass or the whatever you're in charge of. You want the snare drum there, okay? Mark the chalk. The chalk. Right. All right.
grease pencils, right? Grease pencils, tape, and razor blades
Yeah, all
were
that.
the tools.
I used to edit as well
Well, I
because
went to school for analog editing and recording right before things went digital, so I was on the balance of both of them, and that's why
oh
it's
really?
interesting. Yeah, so to me, I learned razor blade editing and all that right at the very end, and then the whole world changed for recording.
That if I had a production idea, which I did quite often,
Yeah.
the guys would say, "Well, you edit the tape," and it's like me.
Oh,
Yeah, that's the tape op's job. No, no, you do it because you were thinking of it and you want it there, don't you? Right, then you do it. So I learned to do that,
it's
and
hard.
I even put the little white tape on the cut, you know, so
Yeah, it's and people
like
don't
just like
know.
you did.
Yeah, and people
Um,
don't know. Look it up on just probably like a video on YouTube actually doing it. It's a crazy process, and it's a skilled art to get really good at it because it's a precise thing. You know.
yes,
Um.
and well, as a drummer, you have to precise, you
Oh
know.
yeah.
Um, so perhaps I already had the precision from
Hmm.
playing drums. I hope I did anyway. I should have by now. By then, I was like a professional drummer for at least 10 years, if not more.
Yeah. So
Um,
did it change things a lot for you? Like when you had analog, have you used digital recording differently for you, like to make it easier? Do you still record the same way? Like some bands will come in and be like, I'll lay down a basic track, well, a dummy track, then go back and do something over it. Or sometimes bands will all go live. Like, did it evolve differently for you with technology?
I've always found that the best feel of any track is the first time you run it through.
Yeah.
So take that and don't get rid of it, you know, keep it as a template. And uh, Angus and Malcolm one time got rid of the engineer producer because they said, "Okay, let's do the original again." He said, "Guys, I wiped it." And like the thing is, you never wipe the
No,
first take.
that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Actually, at that point, you have that much access to a studio and money. You don't want anything out when you're at that level.
No.
You need to have everything open for the band to go back,
And,
especially
and
if
when
you're
you
getting.
got thousands of tracks to work with, you know, thousands of sliders,
Well, yeah, there's no need to not
you
talk.
it's unlimited.
Yeah.
No, he wiped it. And he didn't just put it aside, he wiped it to make room for some overdubs. And as I'm sure you know, overdubs don't feel the same as the original track. And, with AC/DC, we all recorded in the same room. And that's what I do
Nice.
with Timeline too. Like Brian's in a box, a vocal booth, I'm behind a glass screen,
Yep.
but I can see everybody. We can see each other. And
Hmm.
the guitars are in the amp might be in a box somewhere, but all the guys, we're all playing and we can hear each other through the earphones.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the way to play. And that's
Right.
how I did the second side on this Timeline CD, because we recorded live, but into a desk so we
Okay.
could mix it properly without
And
editing. So, because
oh,
it's all
nice.
digital these days.
Well, I think maybe the people that aren't aware, maybe how younger people, like when you go live, live is you still have to do things. You do have isolate. You want to isolate things, so you don't have like bleed through. So you're gonna have it in a box. You're gonna have glass behind you because you don't want to have the snare ringing into the vocal off of a spare
No,
mic in the room. So that's it's still live. It's just there's things to hold back our baffles or to
you got
keep
a
back the
separate
sound.
thing. That's
Right.
all.
But that's all that's about. It doesn't. It's still a very live room and it's a live sound. That's all that does. Whereas a lot of
Yeah,
bands will do it. They'll record a dummy track or a track, and each band member will run their stuff down one at a time and they'll layer it. But
right.
sometimes that makes it not. Some bands can get away with it. Some bands just don't like it because it feels sterile. I like to hear a live thing because to me it's a dying art. No one plays live together anymore. It's like a
Yeah,
generational thing.
yeah, and that's what that first track is all about. Because no matter if there's mistakes on it, that's the best feel you're going
Hmm.
to get all day. You might try 56 takes, but
Yeah.
the first one's going to have the best feel. So fix that, with some overdubs later, perhaps.
No,
But first
that's
or
spot on.
second, that's it.
My experience would be, especially with guitar solos, would be like they always go back. It's always the first guitar solo, maybe with a punch in at one point to fix a little noodle. But that's it. It's always the first with a punch in. It's usually the third one. They're like, nope. You know,
Right. Yep. I'm glad you've got the same experience. It's fantastic.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've had a little bit of experience in my life doing a lot of different things. Um, it, it's and that's what makes it exciting to me when I see an artist like you've done and all the different types of music you've touched and the time periods of music and it's fascinating because you've really gone through the gamut. Where a lot of people haven't touched both. They've had like a leg in here and here, but you've really worked with such a variety of musicians and almost types of music. Because Tom Jones at the time it had an orchestra big band feel to it with a new pop sensibility to it. I don't know if people felt that, but it was coming from, to me, it felt like it was a big, robust sound that was a little different with a pop sound. It was an evolving sound. And then when you did Man Humanity, that sound totally changed. That was kind of like a different type of rock. You've always evolved into different sounds. It's never been the same static style.
I've been very lucky that my drumming technique allowed me to change enough or adapt enough
Hmm.
to be able to play Tom Jones and big band stuff, because we played with the Count Basie Orchestra,
Yeah. It's
um, and still do AC/DC, for
right.
instance. So I started learning, or I started listening to jazz in the beginning,
Hmm.
because in the 50s, don't forget, there was no real pop music or
No.
beat music or band music or whatever you like to call it, rock music. There was rock and roll,
Yep.
yes, Jay Lee, you know, and there was Elvis, of course, as well.
Yeah.
But uh, that there were no great drummers in that, very few anyway.
Right.
Rock Around the Clock was something else because that was great drumming, when that came out. But before that, there was nothing. So I went to jazz to listen to drummers, and they were great drummers. Buddy Rich, Gene Krupa, all those people.
Oh yeah.
Um, just tremendous drummers, and they still considered tremendous drummers.
Oh, to this day, I think
Um,
Krupa's probably one of the best ever, ever.
oh, the Greatest Showman.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Buddy wasn't any slouch in that
No, 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 they're all good. I'm
department,
saying out
but
of all those, my favorite. I agree with you. I'm saying out of my favorite, all of them though. You always hear Buddy Richards. They say no, you don't always hear Krupa as much as you hear. I'm like, I think we got to talk about Krupa too because that's a big time. You know.
oh, you can't. They're giants. These people,
Yeah.
absolute giants. You know, um, and literally, we are standing on the shoulders of giants
Yeah.
in any instrument. Like Stephen Grappelli in the Hot Club of France.
Hmm.
And you know, they were just playing jazz, ching, 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 ching. But it's when I say just playing jazz, they were playing really good jazz. But
Right.
it was all evolved out of that. And in the 50s, we were inventing rock and roll as we went along.
Mhm.
We didn't know what it was called or what it was, or and then Sandy National came along with a record called Let There Be Drums, and everybody wanted to be a drummer. Cozy Powell certainly did. Ringo Starr certainly did.
Yeah.
Um, all the people of that generation, Sandy Nelson was head and shoulders above everybody.
Yeah.
In the rock, in the pop world,
Hmm.
because it was a hit record. And I met Sandy actually
Oh yeah.
um, before he went. Um, I used to live in Vegas, and he used to live in Boulder City, which is not far from Vegas, just outside. And I used to go and see him, and he used to be in his tiny club um, with a band, and he'd sit in every now and again. He was in a wheelchair in the end, but he used to go and sit in.
Yeah.
And I talked to him a few times. He told me some very interesting things. Um, and he had a motorcycle accident years before. Uh, I had one myself, so I know how that feels.
Yeah.
I broke all my ribs.
Oh.
Sandy broke his ankle, I think it was, and other stuff. And it took me about 9 months to recover. This is a long time back now. I'm talking
Yeah.
20 years ago, 25 years ago. But that ended my motorcycle riding, I'm afraid.
Oh yeah.
So
That.
our singer now with Timeline makes up for it because he rides motorcycles everywhere.
Oh wow.
Bun David, he still goes. I know I understand the thrill of it. What you
Hmm.
get out of a motorcycle, um, and it is a fantastic way to travel. You're out in the open, whether it's pouring with rain or whatever.
Yeah.
Still, to be a great way to travel. I'd be doing it now if I could, but I just can't, I'm afraid.
It's it's as close as you can be to having full speed and have nothing around you. It's like jumping out of an airplane. It just
Yeah.
the same
Well,
that
to me,
same
that's
power.
that you get in this tube and you end up somewhere. That's what an airplane means to me. There's a
Actually,
tube you sit in for hours and then you are somewhere else. Maybe it's not
yeah.
real. Maybe we get in the tube and it just makes noises go
Oh, I don't know,
and
man.
and then the whole scene changes.
That's actually the thing.
Oh,
That actually
welcome to Cincinnati.
it literally feels like the plot of Twilight Zone.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
You know, I think
Well,
if it was
they,
just
they
like
did
that.
it with the what was it? In a movie, didn't they? Where it was all a game show. Life was
Yeah.
all a game show.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. The
The
Truman. Yep. Yep.
Truman Show, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. It was Truman Show
Um,
with Gary,
yeah.
Jim Carrey.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Try and stop me.
See?
Yes. Um, so it's
So
it's
you,
sorry.
I know. I was gonna say. So it's amazing that I was looking at your albums up in here. It's crazy because you played with like Uriah Heep, which is such a fantastic band, and
Yep.
then you went and did work with Gary Newman, which is another talent. I thought you had Gary. I think both bands on. Um, but with Gary, it was a different type of music because he's more on the electronic industrial side.
Yeah. But somebody asked me that the other day. It's playing drums. I just want to play drums. And I don't care what genre it is or if it's electronic on it's all music. That's the way I see it. And you play the way that you play on that particular thing. The great thing about Gary Newman was that he asked me if I knew any fretless bass players.
Hmm.
And I just met or I knew about Pino Palladino. So
Okay.
he was on that album. I gave him his first gig on fretless because I knew him as a
Oh wow.
guitarist. And a friend of mine, John Sloman, who happens to be the singer in Uriah Heep when I was in Uriah Heep, when we were in Uriah Heep, they were friends. They'd been to school together, John Sloman and Pino Palladino. He's Welsh, by the way, Pino, with a name like Pino Palladino. His father was Italian,
Okay.
or is Italian, I should say.
Yeah, they
Um,
don't take it away from you. I think once you have it, you're Italian to your last breath. I don't think they take it away from you.
um, uh, yeah, so and so him and Tony Franklin, when I
Hmm.
said earlier on, I started writing even bass lines. I know what a good bass line is because I've worked with some fantastic bass players.
Yeah.
Pino, and the fretless monster, as he calls
Yes.
himself.
Yes. He pops up my social media all the time too. He is. I think when a musician plays fretless, that's almost like witchcraft to me. I mean, to me, I need to see my frets. I need to be looking down. I can't.
Yeah, I
You know what I
know.
mean? When you don't have that divider, it's a different world. It's a different animal. You know what
Very
I mean?
strange.
It is. It's
One of
magic,
my heroes on fretless, of course, as a musician anyway,
yeah.
is Jaco Pastorius.
Of course.
And I got to jam with him too, just me and him,
Really?
at a club in New York City. His band hadn't shown up yet. So I went up and said, "Hey, Jacko, do you fancy playing?" Because we waited for an hour. His band
Okay.
still didn't show. I say we, the whole crowd, there were like 200 or 300 people in the club in New York
What
City.
year? What year was this? What band were you in? Was it Manfred Mann's Earth at this time?
That was, I was in the firm. So it was
Oh, okay.
probably 85, 86, somewhere around
Okay.
there. And no pressure. Here we go. So he says, are you here with Jimmy Page? I went, yeah. He said, get up on stage. So I got on the kit. The kit was set up, but no musicians.
Yeah.
And so then he puts his bass on. He puts the bass of Doom on, or the Doom bass, whatever. And he looks at me and goes, okay, you start. I thought, oh, God. No pressure, like. So I start with ting, ting to ting, ting to ting. And then he
Yeah.
kicked off. And we played for like 20, 25 minutes.
Oh,
And
nice.
he was absolutely fantastic. As you can you just imagine. Unfettered. We changed time signatures, we changed fields, we changed all sorts of stuff. And that was a thrill for me, a real thrill. Um, play, to have him playing bass and I'm playing drums, and just the two of us. That was, and nobody filmed it, of course.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's no film or even audio, something floating around because that was it. A special, just you two, one time only.
Pagey got up afterwards,
Yeah.
and they both said to me, "Do you want to stay and play this one? I'm going to play with Jacko now." And it's like, no, you drummers showed up now, so
Yeah.
this is his kit. I should let him play.
Ah.
And they filmed that one, of course. But they didn't film Slade with Jacko.
Ah. Yeah, you should be like, you know what? In all fairness, playing with Paige and Jacko and you, I've been like, I get one song. I want one song to say I played with both of
Wow.
those
I
two.
mean, I wish I hadn't been so stupid. I've done daft things like that.
You were being polite.
Um,
You were being respectful to the other drummer, which
I
wasn't
was
necessary
actually.
because you covered his butt, so it wasn't really necessary. All bets are off.
Yeah, I just wish I'd had that time again and go, yeah, I'll
Yeah,
play drums. Okay. Uh, what we doing, guys? Go ahead.
your intent was good. You know, sometimes being kind does bite us in the butt, right? In
Oh,
life, you know, that's amazing. That is really amazing. Actually, so the firm, that was an interesting project you guys kind of did. It was almost like a stopgap. It felt like because it was like there's all this burning energy, and it felt like those artists, all you guys had nowhere to go. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. It was great. It really was. And people are surprised, they say, what was it like working with Pagey? Or Jimmy Page, they say. I call him Pagey. We all do.
Yeah. Well,
Um, um, and, he's an ordinary guy.
mhm.
Everybody's a human being. Well, most of us. And, and, you know, I said earlier on, he just happens to be a rock god. Hey, rock god, how many sugars in your coffee, man?
Yeah.
You know,
He's yeah. I don't think anybody's ever met him in the past the couple of years. I always heard good things or funny stories or he he did a tour with the Black Crows and the drummer, Steve Gorman, used to take naps before the show. And Page would come in and he was surprised. He saw him sleeping and he got disappointed. I think he thought he was like doing drugs and nodding off. And so later on he found out. He goes, no, I take a nap before the show. He goes, oh, I should try that. So there's a picture, a photograph where Jimmy Page and Steve Gorman are on couches, head to head, corner couches, napping before a show.
nice one.
It's pretty. So I mean, yeah, it's pretty. It's a pretty funny. It's just an odd story, a Jimmy Page story. It's kind of funny. What was the process for you guys all to play together? Was it like the songwriting? Was it more of a jam type thing, or did Jimmy just come in with a song written, or was it like I got a riff? Paul's got some lyrics. Like, what was the process there?
Yes, Jimmy and Paul
Hmm.
Rogers, of course, used to come in with the song demoed, if you like, or
Yeah.
Paul would sit at the piano and say, it goes like this,
Mhm.
and we'd work it up from there. Mostly, there were very few demos. Like with AC/DC, the demos are done, and that's sacrosanct.
Yeah.
But with the firm, it was like make it up as you go along. And I say, what sort of thing do you? I used to say that. What sort of thing would you like on this one? And Pagey would say something like, just play, man, just play.
Really?
He's only been played with the greatest drummer in the world before
I was
me.
gonna say that would be the one person I'd be a little daunting to be like, you have played with this other guy, that
Yeah,
a few
yeah.
guys that really is kind of good also. That would be kind of daunting as a musician.
Uh, he's a legend, of course,
Yeah.
and I'd be very, very stupid to try to copy him. Um, there, he came from my era, um, and a lot of people actually, British people, British drummers especially,
Hmm.
not a lot, but a few, used to drum that way, quite sparse, and it enhanced the feel as far as I can see. But he was tremendous. I was watching a documentary last night
Yeah.
on Zeppelin, and he is just something else. Uh, and somebody said to me, "Do you think when he got with a journalist said to me when he got with Jimmy Page, it seemed. Do you think it changed him? It made him?" I said, "I think it'd be more not so much Jimmy Page as JP, the
Yeah.
bass player." John Paul Jones, because JP was an arranger as well as a fantastic bass player.
Yep.
You couldn't get better. And I'm sure he said to Bonham at some point, oh, why didn't you just try that? Instead of playing in 5/4, play in 4/4, and it all comes out at the end. And I bet that happened. I don't know, and I'll
Yeah.
probably never know. I never asked Jimmy anything like that. Apparently, though, Pagey and Bonham were, when they first did Kashmir, for instance,
Yeah.
it was just those two that did it first. Bass, just guitar and drums. And then
I
the
can
other
hear that.
guys, came in another time, and they all did it together, the song together. But trying things out, it was just Pagey and Bonzo. I shouldn't call him that because I never met him. So,
Well,
no.
John Bonham, I think, but did you know Jimmy Page prior to this? Because Paul, coming from Bad Company, and you already have your resume was already nice and tight by that point anyhow yourself, you know. So did you know Page, or did he say, "Oh, who
No,
knows somebody?" And they're like,
I'd
"Oh,
never
we've got
met,
somebody."
never met Jim, but I had met Paul when he was in Free
Oh,
in
okay.
1971, when Manfred Mann's Earth Band did a tour of Australia. And Free, believe it or not, were opening the bill. And
Wow.
Deep Purple was top of the bill. This was 1971.
Wow, what a show.
And I first met Paul in those days. I don't think Paul even knows it was me. I honestly don't.
You never
Um,
said, "Hey, by the way, remember me?"
yeah, I've done that a few times. I did that to Max Weinberg, Bruce Springsteen's E
Drummer.
Street drum.
Yeah.
Uh, and Max came to see the firm, and he ended up backstage,
Yeah.
and we ended up talking. And I said, "Oh, by the way, Max, um, I was the drummer on Blinded by the Light." And he said, "Wow, man, that kept us going for years, that record." So you can imagine the royalties that came off that went to Bruce, of course, as the writer, but then he could fund the band and do
Yeah.
whatever.
And
So it helped them along the way, which is good because they're a really good band too, aren't they?
yeah, I mean, they are, well, at this point they become legendary. I mean, but at the time they were just a hardworking, tight band as far as anybody knew. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
but
that's
even
right.
the song, it was at the time the song came out, "Blinded by the Light." I mean, it was at the time it was just a popular pop song. Now, once again, it's become a classic. As we can look back and forth on this, this timeline here, this time lapse. You know, it's it, it
Yeah, yeah.
it's interesting because who would have thought that the song "Wrapped Up Like a Deuce," the deuce part would have been so controversial, and everybody guessing what he's saying for so long,
Excuse me. Yeah, I know.
right?
That
That's so
was
funny.
pure accident because we sat for hours, Earth Band, sat for hours with a record player and picking the needle up, trying to get the
Yeah,
lyrics because they weren't printed on the record. So we sort of made those. And what I came up with at the end for that
yeah,
phrase was wrapped up like a deuce. In other words, a pack of
yes,
cards.
right.
And I didn't know about, of course I knew about it, it didn't come to mind.
I know.
Deuce Coupe,
Yeah,
um, Deuce Coupe. But so we spent hours and hours and hours because we knew we were going to do the song. What the hell did he say there? What was it? What did he say? I think he said that
well, the fact that you guys had a
you know
problem yourself
the
is
words
even
are
funnier.
wrapped up, sorry, revved up like a deuce, revved up like a deuce. like revved as a car,
Yeah.
but I got wrapped up like a deuce. So that's the closest I could come. And that's what we sang. And then there was a recording head, here we go again,
Mhm.
malfunction. You'll understand about this. The azimuth on the recording head was set in the wrong place. That's a technical term, place,
Yeah.
by the way. Um, um, and it made everything very sibilant. And
Oh,
Chris Thompson also has a New Zealand accent. So, it came up, wrapped up like a juice. And everybody assumed it was wrapped up like a juice,
yeah.
so. Um,
So
and I bet Bruce has been explaining that all his career, and so have I.
I just think it's funny because the fact that, I mean, well, you guys had to figure what he was doing. He was saying it, so you guys were in the same boat. So it's continued on in the cycle of of what is that? What are they saying? That one line. But it didn't stop it from being a big hit. Uh, you you did also you work with Denny Lane also. Did
Yes,
you? That's pretty awesome. I think too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think ACDC and all is great too. But people always talk about that. I mean, you've played with some other artists that, but fantastic. And Denny Lane. I mean, my God.
yeah, we didn't live far from each other actually at one time, and I co-owned, not with him, but with other people, a recording studio. So he used to come there, but he only lived about 5 miles away. So I got to know him quite well.
Mhm.
And he wanted a drummer for a project. And I think I did some recording with him. I'm pretty sure I did. Might have done some sort of
You're
album
listed
or
for
something.
yeah. You've done so many albums. I remember. Yeah, you're listed as anyone can fly if that's accurate.
You know, I, in fact, I can find out in a few weeks because I've been going out to
You're
South of
you're
France.
you're you're listed as credit as a drummer on the Anyone Can Fly album by Denny.
Oh,
And you
there you go then. Yeah, so I
yeah.
did. He wrote one of my favorite songs. Is it Say You Don't Mind? I think
Uh,
so.
I'm
I
not
think it's
sure.
Say You Don't Mind. But he wrote that anyway. And it's one of my favorite songs. He sang it at my 40th birthday party, actually. Came
Ah,
along. And so did Gilmore,
oh
strangely.
wow.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah, because you recorded with him too.
that was a real great night, I must say. Um, and there were a lot of other people there too. Uh, I had 50,000 of my best friends there,
That's the best time to celebrate it with, right? You know, that is the best. That's crazy. You, I lost my train of thought there for a second. Oh, with 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 your- with your tour now, how are you doing your song list for this album for playing live? How are you deciding your music?
Oh, well, the first thing we got to put in is Sundance, which is the first track on the album.
Mhm.
And only because we already rehearsed it, uh, and we know it, so it would be quite easy to put in. I don't know if I'm going to do Time Flies. I will have to in the end. The guys, the band,
Mhm.
um, said that I should sing it because I always demo the songs,
Yeah,
and then we get the guys in and they put their bit on it. They also play on the demos, but we do this for proper.
yeah.
Um, and they insisted that, or suggested that I sang Time Flies because the other two singers who are really good, um, you know, they were also saying you should do it yourself. And it started with just me. The idea came from me on piano going da 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 da, and, and I thought, I wonder what it'd be like if I had a repeat echo on that da 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 da. And that's where it all started from. And it just worked out. It probably took a few months to work it. I hadn't written the
Yeah.
chorus. The chorus was the last thing I wrote.
Oh wow.
So it's a very I just work. It's not always like that. I just work whatever comes up, whatever comes in the brain
Yeah.
and gets spouted out my mouth and might make sense of it. Goes down, if it's good enough, that is. And that's the way it worked. And I'm very proud of that. And End of Eternity, which is the track that comes after that, is a spin-off, of course, from Time Flies. It's the
Hmm.
same chord sequence, and James Cornford plays an amazing solo. He also, when we live, we do Comfortably Numb.
Yeah.
Now nobody can be David Gilmour, but James does a wonderful interpretation of the solo at the end, and the whole audience are mesmerized,
Yeah.
really mesmerized, with the whole rendition of Comfortably Numb. Everybody sings in it at some point or other. Steve is the lead singer,
Yeah.
Stevie G. And, so I equate End of Eternity to like the solo in Comfortably Numb. And it's James playing, and
Yeah.
he does an absolutely wonderful job, as he does in all songs, but that one particularly.
Well, it's a very solid lineup you have with you. Very talented. I mean,
They are.
everyone is talented. Talented like you are. I mean, so it's definitely a very solid album. There's no weak spots in it. And I
Yeah.
think it'd be great for
Thank
you
you.
to throw some of your new songs in there.
Yeah. Thank you. We will. It's just the time to do it.
I hear
Um,
you.
James and Mike have been playing together musically since they were 11 years old,
Wow.
and they're 35 now. So they are a very tight
Tight.
unit and very musical.
Hmm.
Mike is really a professor. I call him Professor Michael.
Professor. Yeah.
Springsteen used to call his keyboard player Professor, didn't he? I remember. This just grew naturally. Professor Michael J. Clark,
It sounds like one.
because he also plays guitar. So he plays the second guitar on the AC/DC stuff, because
Yep.
you can only do AC/DC properly with two guitars.
Hmm.
And what I said to the guys, okay, let's have a go at this, guys. But we need a rhythm player, rhythm guitarist. And Mike went, that's what I started on, rhythm guitar, playing AC/DC. I had no idea. No idea. So he plays keyboards and
Hmm.
he sings and he plays rhythm guitar or second guitar on AC/DC.
Wow.
So it's like a very talented guy.
That is. I mean, you've got a full lineup, and it's like I said, it's a good album, full album, double album. So there's something on it for everybody. I mean, you really do cross generations, which makes it
Thank
kind
you.
of a fun album. Well, yeah, you're very welcome. I mean, it's good, and I think I'm glad you got to do an album like this. I mean, long time coming. Yeah,
Yes.
after you've been in so many bands,
Well,
you
I
know,
thought I'd wait until I was older, but this was
yeah,
the time to do it.
right. This is the fact that you've been able to do this, it's incredible. I think the only thing that's more amazing than that is actually your last name being Slade and all the bands you've been in, and you actually not betting in Slade. I think that's the only thing that surprises me, historically. Um,
All
so
right. Yeah, yeah.
you the same last name. That's the only thing. So the album's out. Is it out or is it coming out? I haven't. Is it already out yet? That's the worst part. I don't even know.
It's out
Is it
next Friday.
next? Okay. I get so thrown off when I get albums early and the dates of other things. I always get thrown off. So people that haven't heard it, it's fantastic. Take my word for it. Get it. The link for the actually the links for your website will be underneath the show on YouTube and under the podcast. You go there. I'll put the other various links to get the album, stream it, buy it. You know,
Brave Words Records.
Brave Words Records. They've been doing it. I've seen some of your other interviews. You know, some interviews a lot. You know, you've been doing the rounds. So you know, I thank you for
I
having
have,
some energy
but
left for me.
I've always done the rounds, to be honest. You know,
Yeah.
depends where I'm working. Uh,
It,
I don't mind at all doing interviews. I think it's great. It's part of playing drums, to be honest.
it's funny because like once again, it's another thing that most people don't want to do as a musician. They don't want to tour and they don't want to do the interviews. They just want to play
Yeah,
music
yeah,
and go on stage.
I know.
So like you're like the catch all for everything else. You
And
know?
they're scared stiff before they go on stage.
Yeah.
I've never been frightened to go on stage.
Really?
It must be a thing, you know, look at me thing, you know. I
Oh,
you
maybe
know,
you weren't a
to be
human.
honest,
Maybe you aren't a human. You're an alien. I don't know.
my my missus says I am. Really, you know.
Well, I don't know.
I say she's very warm, uh,
Yeah.
warm-blooded. I'm very cold-blooded. Um, I'm always freezing cold. My hands, my feet. It's been like that forever. And there's two things. She says, "You're an alien,"
Hmm.
and yeah, nice.
See, I'm not. I'm right in the nose with that one. Get some of those heat rocks that you can sit on like a lizard in the
And the
house.
other
Keep you
thing
warm,
is, you must be practicing for death,
right?
which
Wow,
is
that's a
true.
hard. I've never heard that one before. That's a good one. That's a good one. I'll have to use that one. That's awesome. I want to thank you. This has been a very fun interview. Thank you. You know, I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for being on the show.
I
It's
enjoyed it. Thank you very much. I'm
uh,
I'm glad we finally connected after all the problems at the start.
if you think about that, we're talking one side of the world to the other. Those really were small problems. People used to have to
Yeah,
cross the globe on a boat and like take 6 months. The fact that we had like a couple minutes of bumping of technology,
yeah, that's true. It's true.
it's how
We
you
look at
look at.
it
It's
like
really how
that.
you look at things. I'm like, this isn't really nothing. I mean, I didn't have to get on a boat. You know, like you think your job is such a hard job. I'm like, I don't have to take a canary into a coal mine to make sure I can do my job. It's not
Right.
that
I
bad.
know about coal mines.
Oh yeah, right. So I mean, it's really a first world problem. People check out the album and support them. Check out the band if you can with the route, but stream the music and go to the website. It's a fun website too. Got a lot of information there. So thank you.
Thanks very
You
much.
you have a great day.
Thanks, Sean. Bye for now.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.